Welcome to the first episode via YouTube of the All Go podcast. My name is Desmond Upshaw. I'll be your host and want to actually get into National Championship preview. Before I do that, wanted to, number one, give a shout out to the shirt that you see me wearing, the Gritty Moguls. Great company. They have some great accessories and clothing for men. So feel free to go and check them out. Great company, great owner. I know him personally. He's a good friend of mine. Also, with the All Go podcast, we actually are on Anchor and some other avenues where you can check us out. I'll link the episodes and things like that down in the description below. But let's get into it. So, want to talk about the national championship. We are about 5 or 6 days away from the national championship, where we will see Ohio State and Alabama battle for the national championship. It's going to be I think it'll be an incredible game. Alabama right now is an 8-point favorite. Ohio State just had a incredible semifinal game against Clemson, where they put up 49 points, held Clemson to 28. Which is not something that you typically see with a Trevor Lawrence-led offense, but they were able to do it. Justin Fields was phenomenal in that game as well. He took a shot pretty early on in that game to where it looked like he would be out for at least an extended amount of time. He only missed a couple snaps and was back in the game. He's an incredible competitor, heart of a champion, and he's someone that is going to be key for Ohio State to win that game. To kind of start with Ohio State, they're the underdog coming into this game, but they have the ability to, as we saw against Clemson, to score and score big. I think a big key for Ohio State, although I do think Justin Fields needs to play well, I think it's going to be important that they stick to the run game and that they stay on schedule. I have a episode where I talked a little bit about Ohio State versus Clemson and how the run game was going to be very important, but also for Justin Fields to stay on schedule and to also make sure that he doesn't hold the ball too long. He's got a tendency to do that, to where he'll hold the ball a little bit too long, whereas in the game against Northwestern, it kind of got them in trouble, as well as Indiana got them and him in trouble, to where he started turning the ball over a little bit, which he typically doesn't do, and also was taking sacks and things like that. So it'll be important that he gets the ball out. And it was actually pretty interesting that after he took the big hit in the Clemson game, that he actually did a better job of that, which when a guy gets injured, you usually don't think that he's going to play better. But for me personally, watching him and watching that game, I thought he did play better just because he was kind of in that mindset of, he had already taken a shot, he was hurt, and he also didn't want to take many more hits. So he was actually getting the ball out early and getting the ball out on time. And when Justin Fields is hitting his checkdowns, as well as, being aggressive with the deep shots and forcing the defense to cover the entire field, he's a phenomenal quarterback. And you could argue he's the best in the country when he's doing that. The problem is we haven't seen him do that consistently. We've only seen it basically for a full half of football. Even last year in the semifinal game, he played pretty well, but he also did turn the ball over, and once again was not getting the ball out on time and getting the ball out early. So I think it'll be important for Fields to make sure that he is getting the ball out early, getting the ball out on time, and making sure to try to keep Ohio State on schedule. Another key in the game will be for Ohio State is going to be Ryan Day not falling in love with the pass game. I do understand you have a quarterback who is a once in a generational type. You could look at the quarterbacks that Ohio State has had in their recent past. They haven't had a type of guy like Justin Fields, who's someone who can throw the ball well, throw it down the field. He's incredible as far as with his feet. He's incredible when it comes to his arm as well. He's got a big arm. He can throw the ball. He is a generational talent when it comes to the quarterback position. But for Ryan Day, you've got your strength of that team, that offense is running the ball. Trey Sermon, we've seen what he has done in the last couple games. It's been phenomenal. I mean, you think of the running backs that Ohio State has had in their history of even going back to Eddie George, but also Zeke Elliott, who had a monster tear when it came to the 2013-2014 national championship team against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. The semifinal against Alabama, where Ohio State pulled the upset, number 4 versus number 1, and then also in the national championship as well. So for Trey Sermon to rush for the most yards in a game for an Ohio State running back, like, just shows that your O-line is on a different level when it comes to run blocking. I remember watching just vividly Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and just like, man, if they would just commit to the run, they'll be just fine. They'll get out of this game with the win. And at that point, Justin Fields was struggling a bit, and he just wasn't on his game. He was kind of going back to those tendencies of holding the ball too long, making bad decisions, making mistakes. And when you're hitting your checkdowns and getting the ball out on time, you don't really have to worry about that. But for Ryan Day, you've got to establish the run. I think Ohio State offensive line, they did a phenomenal job, especially in the last 2 or 3 games, to where those guys are road grading. They are moving guys off the ball, and you've got to be extremely talented to move Clemson's front 7 off of the ball, and Ohio State did that. So those will be 2 of the biggest keys. Obviously, defensively, you just can't give up the big play. Like, that's going to be the key for Ohio State's defense. I think they have some deficiencies. Their number 1 corner, Shaun Wade, he has struggled mightily in the last couple games that they've played. When they played Indiana, he did not look good against Freifogel, who was Indiana's top receiver. He didn't look good against Clemson, to be frank. It's an odd situation because you rarely see a guy who's projected to be a first-round pick come back to school and potentially hurt his draft stock. Now, I think Shaun Wade's still going to be a first-round pick, but he doesn't look as shiny as he did before, coming into this season. It just, he hasn't played well. He's been matched up, to his defense, he's been matched up with some really good receivers, but at the same time, on Monday, he's not going to be matched up against just some, Joe Blow. He's going to be matched up against Devontae Smith, who is the Heisman Trophy winner and the first receiver to do it since Desmond Howard in 1991. So I think for Ohio State, you just have to focus on don't give up the big play. That's going to be key. For Alabama, we can kind of flip the script. We can start with their defense. The defense against the run has got to be better. Alabama has everyone talks about the Ole Miss game where they gave up just a ton of points, a ton of yards, and I get that, but that was so long ago. But at the same time, their run defense, it hasn't been the run defense that we're used to seeing from Nick Saban. It's been a bend but don't break type of defense when it comes to the run game, but they've been kind of bailed out a bit by the offense because your offense is scoring at such a high clip that, for defensively, teams just they get to a point where they have to throw the ball. Like, the run game is scrapped because we're down 14, 17, 21 to nothing, and it's early in the game. So I think they've got to do a great job against the run, in which they do have the ability to do that, but it's gonna be big to make sure that they are stopping the run, that they are really focused on that, because I think on the outsides, I think they'll be fine. As great as a receiver as I think Chris Olave is, and he is extremely explosive, he's great with the ball in his hands, he's great after the catch, he can take the top off of defense. Chris Olave can literally do it all. But I think Alabama, with Patrick Surtain Jr. as well as Josh Jobe, those guys cover really well. They cover really well, and I think that, especially with Surtain Jr., he's tall. He's 6'1", 6'2", really rangy. He's been really good in pass coverage this year. So I think that really is gonna be the focus for Alabama defensively. Is you've got to stop the run. You can't have Trey Sermon have another 300-yard game. Like that's going to be a recipe for disaster, I think. And offensively, it's just going to be just continue to do what you've been doing all year. Alabama is averaging, I believe, about 48 points a game. They have Najee Harris, who is going to be probably the first running back taken in the NFL draft. They've got Devontae Smith, who's been playing out of his mind. It seems that when the moments are the biggest, Devontae Smith plays his best, which is exactly what you want if you're a head coach, if you're Nick Saban or Steve Sarkisian, who's the offensive coordinator. That's exactly what you want. Is you want your big players playing big on the biggest stages. So I have all the confidence in the world that Devontae Smith will play well. And also Alabama's potentially getting Jalen Waddle back, who is essentially electricity on the football field. Just throughout his career, I believe he's averaging about a touchdown every 7 catches or so. He's just a phenomenal talent, speed demon, and he's someone that I think makes Alabama's offense unstoppable. Like he's that good, because you could argue that Alabama's offense has been unstoppable for majority of the year, and for majority of this year, they haven't had Jalen Waddle. He was injured in, I believe, the 5th game of the season against Tennessee, and he's kind of made his way back. He's been practicing this week, I believe. Tuesday, which was about 2 days ago, was the first time he got to the practice field. And for Alabama, they may get a prize of having probably your most explosive player back in the biggest game of the year. So I think even if he gets back and he does play in the game, and they put him on a pitch count, so to speak, even 20 to 25 plays, he's going to attract that much attention because he's that explosive. So I think that Alabama will end up winning the game, but I don't think it's going to be, a Notre Dame type blowout that you saw where, Alabama got up pretty early and it seemed like they got into the mindset of, let's just get out of this game. Let's just end this, as quick as we can. We're going to try to take the air out of the football. We're not really, back into running our offense. We're just kind of, we're comfortable, so let's just get out of this game and we'll focus on the national championship. So my prediction, I think Alabama will probably end up about 45 points. So I'll go with my score prediction will be 40 to 45. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the game is just a couple days away. There were some rumblings of potentially Ohio State needing to postpone the game due to COVID. It sounds like both head coaches are in lockstep of this game is going to be played on Monday. So it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And I should have given my disclaimer beforehand that I am an Alabama fan. So, of course, I would have that type of prediction. But, thank you so much for checking out the video. As I mentioned, please like, subscribe. My goal will be to put out some content on a regular basis, and as well as also have the podcast. As I mentioned when we started, that I'll put all the description and everything down in the bio. So appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon.